The final battle for the galaxy began in the skies above Earth. The Zarkoth, pushed to desperation, had brought their ultimate weapon to humanity's doorstep, a planet killer capable of destroying entire worlds. Sarah stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the HSS Hope. Around her, a fleet of human and alien ships prepared for the fight of their lives. "This is it," she said to Mike, who stood beside her. "Everything we fought for comes down to this." The Zarkoth fleet appeared, their ships darkening the sky. At its center loomed their superweapon, a monstrosity that seemed to swallow light itself. What followed was a battle that would be remembered for millennia. Human ingenuity clashed with Zarkoth desperation. Ships danced and died among the stars. On Earth, people watched the sky, knowing their fate hung in the balance. Sarah's voice crackled over the comms, rallying the Allied forces. "Remember who we are. Remember what we fight for. Not just for Earth, but for every world that has suffered under the Zarkoth." The human-led fleet fought with everything they had. They used tactics no one had ever seen before, combining strategies from Earth's long history of warfare with the most advanced alien technology. But the Zarkoth were formidable. Their superweapon began to power up, its energy readings off the charts. It seemed that all might be lost. In that moment, Sarah made a decision. She ordered the Hope to fly straight at the superweapon. It was a suicide mission, but if they could destroy it, the rest of the fleet might have a chance. As the Hope rocketed towards its target, Sarah thought of Earth, of all the planets she'd seen, of the vast and wonderful galaxy that had opened up to humanity. "It's been one hell of a ride," she said to Mike. He nodded, his eyes determined. "Let's finish this." Just as the superweapon was about to fire, the Hope crashed into it. There was a blinding flash, and then silence. For a moment, everything stood still. Then, cheers erupted across the human and Allied frequencies. The superweapon was destroyed, and with it, the Zarkoth's last hope of victory. In the hours that followed, the Allied fleet mopped up the remaining Zarkoth forces. The great empire that had threatened the galaxy was no more. But the victory came at a great cost. Many brave souls, human and alien alike, had given their lives. And Sarah and Mike, the heroes who had turned the tide of war so many times, were gone. As the dust settled, the galaxy faced a new reality. Humans, once dismissed as primitive, were now seen as saviors. The Galactic Council gathered to discuss the future, and for the first time, Earth had a seat at the table. The President of Earth addressed the Council. "We came to the stars as newcomers, underestimated and doubted. We leave this war as equals, having shown what humanity is capable of. But we haven't forgotten the lessons of our own history. We know the price of war and the value of peace." In the years that followed, a new galactic order emerged. Humans played a key role, not just in military matters, but in diplomacy, science, and culture. Their unique perspective, shaped by millennia of conflict and cooperation on Earth, brought fresh ideas to age-old galactic problems. The aliens, for their part, learned to see humans in a new light. They studied Earth's history, marveling at how a species could be so warlike yet so compassionate, so divided yet so united when it mattered most. On a peaceful world, far from Earth, a statue was erected. It showed Sarah and Mike, standing side by side, looking up at the stars. The plaque read, "To the heroes of Earth, who taught the galaxy the true meaning of courage." And on Earth itself, people looked to the stars with new eyes. They had faced the greatest threat in galactic history and emerged victorious. Now, a universe of possibilities lay before them. As night fell on the planet that had given birth to this remarkable species, a child looked up at the sky and asked, "What's out there?" Her mother smiled. "Everything," she said. "And now, we're a part of it all." The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate humans. In war, in peace, in the vastness of space, Humanity had found its place among the stars. The human exploration ship, Curiosity, drifted through the vastness of space, its crew unaware of the destiny that awaited them. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the unfamiliar star patterns on the view screen. "How's our situation, Martinez?" she asked, turning to her chief engineer. Martinez ran a hand through his graying hair, his face creased with worry. "Not good, Captain. The warp drive is shot, and we're running low on fuel. We need to find a place to land and make repairs." As if on cue, the ship's AI chimed in. "Captain, I've detected a habitable planet within range. It appears to have breathable atmosphere and moderate gravity." Chen nodded. "Looks like we don't have much choice. Take us in, Raj." As the Curiosity entered the planet's atmosphere, none of the crew could have imagined the impact their arrival would have on the dying world below. On the surface of the Cylon homeworld, Zura was helping with the evacuation of the last space station. The mood was somber as Cylons unloaded crucial supplies from the escape pods. Suddenly, a bright light in the sky caught her attention. "Elder Kex," she called out, her antennae quivering with excitement. "Look." All eyes turned to the sky as the human ship, wreathed in flames from atmospheric entry, streaked across the horizon. The Cylons watched in awe as it disappeared behind a distant mountain range. What was that?" Taz, the scientist, asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elder Kex's eyes were wide with disbelief. "A ship. A new ship. But from where?" Back on the Curiosity, the human crew braced for a rough landing. Alarms blared as Martinez shouted over the commotion. "Brace for impact." With a bone-jarring thud, the ship plowed into the alien soil, carving a deep furrow before finally coming to rest. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, Captain Chen's voice came over the intercom. "Status report. Is everyone okay?" As the crew assessed their situation, Dr. Emily Wong, the ship's xenobiologist, peered out of a viewport. Her breath caught in her throat. "Captain," she called out, "you need to see this." Outside, a group of strange, bioluminescent beings was cautiously approaching the ship. Their delicate forms seemed to glow in the planet's dim light. "My God," Chen whispered. "First contact." The Tylons, led by a curious but cautious Zora, approached the strange metal object that had fallen from their sky. Its design was unlike anything they had ever seen, even in the days when other alien races still visited their world. As they drew closer, a hatch on the side of the ship suddenly opened with a hiss. The Tylons jumped back, their bioluminescence flickering with alarm. A figure emerged, tall, solid, and utterly alien to the Cylons' eyes. Captain Chen stepped onto the alien soil, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. She held up her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "We come in peace," she said, knowing her words wouldn't be understood, but hoping her tone would convey her intentions. Zara, emboldened by a lifetime of hoping for this very moment, stepped forward. She raised her six-fingered hand in a mirror of Chen's gesture. The two species stood face to face for the first time, separated by biology, language, and the vastness of space, yet united by an instinctive desire to connect. Elder Kex hobbled forward, his eyes never leaving the strange beings emerging from the ship. "After all this time," he murmured, "the stars have finally answered." But not all the Cylons shared his optimism. Taz, the scientist, eyed the humans' sturdy forms and advanced technology with suspicion. "We must be careful," he warned. "Remember what happened the last time we encountered a new species." As more of the human crew emerged, the initial wonder began to give way to the practical realities of the situation. Both sides were stuck, the humans with their damaged ship, the Cylons with their dying world. Dr. Wong activated her universal translator, a device that had yet to encounter the Cylon language. It sputtered and struggled, producing a garbled mix of sounds that confused both species. "Well," Martins quipped, breaking the tension, "this is going to be interesting." Captain Chen shot him a look before turning back to the Tylons. Slowly, carefully, she pointed to herself. "Human," she said clearly. Then she gestured to Zora. "You?" Zora understood the intent, if not the word. She placed a hand on her chest, her bioluminescence pulsing gently. "Xylon," she replied. It was a small step, but a significant one. Two species, each abandoned or ignored by the larger galactic community, had taken their first step towards an alliance that would change everything. As the two groups began their awkward attempts at communication, neither the humans nor the Tylons could have predicted the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. But in that moment, on a dying world orbiting a forgotten star, hope began to flicker anew. As the days passed, the initial wonder of first contact gave way to the practical challenges of two very different species trying to work together. The humans, stranded on the Cylon homeworld, found themselves facing a dying planet and a civilization on the brink of collapse. Captain Sarah Chen stood with Zara on a hilltop overlooking a withered field. The Cylon's bioluminescence flickered dimly, a reflection of her people's fading hope. "Our crops are failing," Zara explained, her words now understandable thanks to Dr. Wang's improved translator. "We've lost the ability to communicate with the plants, as we once did." Chen's brow furrowed in thought. Then, a spark of an idea lit her eyes. "Martinez," she called into her communicator. "Bring the hydroponics equipment from the ship. I think we might be able to help." Within hours, the human crew had set up a small hydroponic system. The Kylons watched in amazement as the humans efficiently assembled the technology, their strong hands moving with purpose and skill. Taz, the skeptical silent scientist, couldn't hide his curiosity. "How does it work?" he asked Martinez, who was calibrating the system. Martinez grinned, always happy to explain his tech. "It's simple, really. We create a perfect environment for the plants, controlling water, nutrients, and light. No need to rely on unpredictable weather or soil conditions." As he spoke, Dr. Wang was carefully planting seeds in the nutrient-rich solution. "These are fast-growing earth vegetables," she explained to the gathered Tylons. "With luck, we'll have the first harvest in just a few weeks." The Tylons murmured in astonishment. Their own agricultural methods, once in harmony with their planet, now took months to produce meager yields. Meanwhile, on another part of the planet, Dr. Emily Wong worked alongside Dr. Lumi in the Cylon hospital. The human doctor marveled at the Cylons' natural empathic abilities, even as she introduced them to human medical techniques. "Your ability to sense and soothe pain is remarkable," Wong said as she showed Lumi how to use a portable medical scanner. "Combined with our technology, we could revolutionize healthcare." Lumi's antenna twitched with excitement as she examined the scanner's readings. "This is incredible," she breathed. "We can diagnose issues we never even knew existed." Across the Xylon city, similar scenes of cooperation and mutual learning unfolded. The humans' resourcefulness and adaptability, honed by centuries of overcoming challenges on Earth and in space, proved to be exactly what the struggling Xylons needed. Elder Kex observed all of this with growing hope. He turned to Captain Chen, his eyes shimmering with emotion. "You and your crew have done more for us in days than the entire galactic community did in years," he said softly. Chen smiled, but her eyes were serious. "We're happy to help, Elder, but I have to ask, why did the galactic community abandon you?" Kex's bioluminescence dimmed slightly. "They said we were too weak, too primitive, that we had nothing to offer." Chen's jaw tightened. Well, they were wrong. Dead wrong. As the weeks passed, the impact of the human presence became increasingly evident. The hydroponic systems, replicated across Cylon settlements, began producing abundant food. Human engineering expertise helped repair crucial infrastructure, while their medical knowledge saved countless Cylon lives. But it wasn't just the Tylons who were changing. The humans found themselves deeply moved by the Cylons' gentle nature and unique abilities. They learned to appreciate the subtle beauty of bioluminescent art and the profound depth of empathic communication. One evening, as the two sons of the Cylon world sat in a spectacular display, Zara found Captain Chen standing alone, gazing at the sky. "What are you thinking?" Zara asked, her natural empathy sensing the human's complex emotions. Chen turned to her, a mix of determination and wonder in her eyes. "I'm thinking that the galaxy has no idea what it's missing," she said. "Your people, Zara, you're not weak. You're different, special, and sometimes being different is the greatest strength of all." Zara's bioluminescence brightened with joy and pride. For the first time in generations, that Cylons dared to hope for a brighter future. But even as the alliance between humans and Cylons grew stronger, neither species realized that news of their cooperation was spreading. Across the galaxy, powerful forces were taking notice. The abandoned world that everyone had written off was about to become the center of a galactic storm. As night fell on the Cylon world, the combined light of human technology and Cylon bioluminescence created a beacon of hope visible from space. It was a signal of change, of unexpected alliance, and of a future that neither humans nor Cylons could have imagined on their own. The human touch had sparked a renaissance on a dying world. But the true test of this fledgling alliance was yet to come. In the vast expanse of space, news travels fast, even when no one intends it to. The unlikely alliance between humans and Cylons had not gone unnoticed. Across the galaxy, powerful species that had long ignored the Cylon homeworld now turned their attention to this forgotten corner of space. On the planet Zenth, home to one of the most influential races in the galactic community, an emergency council meeting was in session. The Zenthian High Commander, a towering figure with iridescent scales, addressed the gathered officials. "We have a situation." The commander's voice boomed across the chamber. "The humans, a species we had deemed primitive, have made contact with the Cylons." Murmurs of surprise and concern rippled through the assembly. A Zenthian scientist stepped forward, her scales shimmering with agitation. But the Cylons were a lost cause. Their world was dying. How could the humans change anything? The High Commander's eyes narrowed. "It seems we underestimated both species. Our latest reports show significant improvements on the Cylon homeworld. They're using human technology in ways we never anticipated." Meanwhile, unaware of the storm brewing in the galaxy, life on the Cylon world continued to improve. Captain Sarah Chen and Zara stood on the balcony of a newly constructed building, overlooking a city that pulsed with renewed life and energy. "I never thought I'd see our world like this again," Zara said, her bioluminescence glowing brightly with joy. "You've given us hope, Sarah." Chen smiled, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. "We've done this together, Zara, but I can't help wondering how the rest of the galaxy will react." As if in answer to her concerns, a sleek ship suddenly appeared in the sky above them. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen, its design far more advanced than their own vessels. That's a Zenthian ship," Zara gasped, her glow dimming with fear. "They haven't visited our world in generations." The ship landed in the city center, causing a stir among both Cylons and humans. As the dust settled, a delegation of Zenthians emerged, their scales glittering in the sunlight. Captain Chen and Elder Kex hurried to meet them, with Zara close behind. The Zenthian leader, Ambassador Exor, regarded them with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "We've come to investigate the situation here," Thor announced, his translator converting his complex language into something the others could understand. Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. "We welcome you, Ambassador. But I'm curious, why the sudden interest in a world you abandoned?" Zord's scales rippled with annoyance. "The galaxy has a delicate balance, human. Your interference here threatens that balance." As they spoke, other alien ships began to arrive. Species that had long ignored the Cylons now descended upon the planet, each with their own agenda. The Vexari, A race of energy beings hovered nearby, their form flickering with barely contained energy. The humans cannot be allowed to expand their influence. They communicated telepathically. They are unpredictable, dangerous. The Quarians, masters of trade and economy, saw opportunity where others saw threat. Perhaps we were too hasty in writing off this sector, their representative mused. There might be profit here after all. As more alien races arrived, tensions began to rise. The once quiet Cylon world became a hub of galactic politics and intrigue. Some species sought to establish trade relations, while others viewed the human-Cylon alliance as a potential threat to their own power. Amidst the chaos, Zara found herself overwhelmed. She turned to Chen, her antenna drooping with worry. What's going to happen now? We never wanted to cause trouble. Chen put a reassuring hand on Zora's shoulder. You haven't caused any trouble. We've done nothing wrong by helping each other. If the galaxy has a problem with that, then maybe it's the galaxy that needs to change. As night fell, representatives from a dozen different alien races gathered in the newly built Cylon Council chamber. The air was thick with tension as competing agendas clashed. Ambassador Xer's voice cut through the noise. The humans must leave. The natural order of the galaxy must be preserved. Chen stood her ground, her voice firm. We were invited here. We've harmed no one. The Cylons are our friends, and we won't abandon them just because it makes you uncomfortable. As the debate raged on, Elder Keck stepped forward, his frail form seeming to grow stronger with each word. For too long, we accepted our fate as the galaxy's outcasts. But no more. The humans have shown us that being different isn't a weakness, it's a strength. We will not be silent any longer. The chamber erupted into chaos as the galactic representatives argued. Outside, humans and Cylons watched the sky, now filled with alien ships, and wondered what the future would hold. The once forgotten world had become the center of a galactic controversy. The ripples of the human-Cylon alliance were turning into waves, and those waves threatened to reshape the very foundations of galactic society. As the debate continued into the night, one thing became clear: nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The tension on the Cylon homeworld had reached a boiling point. The once quiet planet was now at the center of a galactic storm, with alien ships filling the skies and diplomats from a dozen worlds arguing in the council chambers. Amidst this chaos, Captain Sarah Chen knew it was time for humanity to make a stand. In the early hours of the morning, Chen called an emergency meeting with her crew and the Cylon elders. The room was thick with anxiety as everyone gathered. We've received a message from Earth, Chen announced, her face grim. The galactic community has issued an ultimatum. Either we leave the Cylons and return home, or Earth will face sanctions. A hush fell over the room. Zara, her bioluminescence dimmed with worry, spoke up. You're going to leave us, aren't you? You have to protect your own world. Chen's eyes flashed with determination. No, Zara. We're not going anywhere. Elder Kex leaned forward, his aged face a mix of hope and concern. But the risks to your own people are worth taking, Chen finished. Humanity has always stood up for what's right, even when it's hard. We won't abandon you now. As the meeting continued, plans were made. The humans would use their diplomatic skills to try and reason with the galactic community, while also preparing for the worst. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of the situation had spread like wildfire. Instead of fear, a wave of support for the Cylons swept across the planet. Humans from all walks of life rallied behind the cause. In New York, thousands gathered in Times Square, holding signs that read, "Stand with Cylon," and "Humanity for Galactic Rights." In Tokyo, engineers worked around the clock, developing new technologies to help defend the Cylon homeworld. In Nairobi, diplomats prepared impassioned speeches to deliver to the Galactic Council. Back on the Cylon world, the humans and Cylons worked together, preparing for whatever might come. Martins, the chief engineer, collaborated with Taz to enhance the planet's defenses. If we integrate your bioluminescence into our shield technology, Martinez explained, drawing a diagram, we could create a defense system unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Taz's antenna twitched with excitement. Yes, and if we add our empathic abilities, we could potentially detect threats before they even arrive. As they worked, Dr. Emily Wong and Dr. Lumi made another breakthrough in the medical bay. "Look at this," Wong exclaimed, pointing to a holographic display. "By combining our medical nanites with Xylon bioluminescence cells, we've created a treatment that could cure diseases across multiple species." Looney's glow pulsed brightly. "This could change everything. We're not just defending ourselves. We're creating something that could help the entire galaxy." Outside, the alien ships continued to gather. The Zenthian fleet grew larger by the day, their sleek vessels a constant reminder of the threat looming over the planet. But for every Zenthian ship that arrived, an Earth vessel appeared to stand alongside the Xylons. Ambassador Exor, frustrated by humanity's refusal to back down, demanded another meeting. In the council chamber, he faced off against Chen and Elder Kex. "You're making a grave mistake," Xor hissed, his scales rippling with anger. "The humans are nobodies in this galaxy. They cannot protect you." Chen stepped forward, her voice steady and strong. "We may be new to your galactic community, but we're quick learners. And one thing we've learned is that strength isn't just about firepower or advanced technology. It's about standing up for what's right, about helping those in need." Elder Kex nodded, his frail form seeming to grow stronger with each word. "The humans have shown us that our differences are our strengths. Together, we're creating marvels that could benefit all species." Xor scoffed, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Other alien representatives murmured among themselves, some nodding in agreement with Chen's words. As the debate raged on, news arrived that changed everything. A massive Zenthian warship, sent to intimidate the human-Xylon alliance, had suffered a catastrophic failure in its propulsion system. It was on a collision course with a populated moon. Without hesitation, Chen ordered her ships to assist. Human vessels, aided by Xylon navigators using their unique spatial awareness, raced to the rescue. In a daring maneuver, they managed to divert the Zenthian ship, saving thousands of lives. The galactic community watched in awe as humans and Cylons, the species they had dismissed as weak and useless, pulled off a feat that none of them could have managed alone. As the crisis passed, a new respect began to grow for the unlikely alliance. The tide of galactic opinion was turning. Humanity's resolve, combined with Xylon uniqueness, had shown the galaxy a new way forward. The battle wasn't over, but as Chen and Zara stood together, watching Earth and Xylon ships flying side by side, they knew that they had taken the first step towards a brighter future for all species. Humanity had made its stand, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the months that followed the dramatic rescue of the Zenthian warship, a remarkable transformation began to take place on the Xylon homeworld. The planet, once on the brink of collapse, now pulsed with new life and energy. The combined efforts of humans and Xylons had sparked what many were calling the Xylon Renaissance. Zara stood atop a hill, overlooking a valley that had once been barren and lifeless. Now, it was filled with a strange but beautiful mix of Earth and Xylon plants, their leaves shimmering with a soft bioluminescent glow. "I never thought I'd see our world like this again," she said, her antenna quivering with emotion. Beside her, Captain Sarah Chen smiled. "It's amazing what can happen when different species work together," she replied. "But this is just the beginning." In the city below, the signs of change were everywhere. Human technology blended seamlessly with Xylon biology, creating marvels that neither species could have achieved alone. In the central square, a group of Xylon children played with holographic bubbles, their laughter mixing with the soft hum of the projectors. Nearby, human scientists worked alongside Cylon experts, their combined knowledge pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Taz, once skeptical of the humans, now led a joint research team. In his lab, He excitedly showed Dr. Emily Wong their latest breakthrough. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a glowing plant in a containment field. "We've combined Earth crop genetics with our bioluminescent properties. These plants can grow in almost any environment and provide their own light for photosynthesis." Wong's eyes widened in amazement. "This could revolutionize agriculture across the galaxy," she said. "Planets that were once too dark for farming could now feed entire populations." But it wasn't just in science that the Tylons were flourishing. Their unique abilities, once dismissed as useless by the galactic community, were now being recognized for their true value. In a newly built cultural center, a group of human diplomats sat in awe as they experienced a Xylon empathic art performance. The Xylon artists used their natural abilities to project emotions and memories, creating a profound and moving experience that left many of the humans in tears. "I've never felt anything like that," one diplomat said afterwards, her voice filled with wonder. It's like they touched my soul." Even in space, the Cylon Renaissance was making waves. A joint human-Xylon space station orbited the planet. Its design a beautiful fusion of human engineering and Xylon organic architecture. From here, ships set out to explore the galaxy, crewed by both species working in perfect harmony. On one of these ships, Martinez, the human engineer, worked side by side with a Xylon navigator named Lux. Together, they had developed a new form of faster-than-light travel, using the Xylon's unique spatial awareness to plot courses through space that no computer could calculate. "Ready for the test run?" Martinez asked, his hand hovering over the control panel. Lux's antenna twitched with excitement. "Ready as I'll ever be," he replied. "Let's make history." With a flash of light, their ship disappeared, reappearing seconds later on the other side of the solar system. It was a journey that should have taken days, completed in the blink of an eye. Back on the planet, Elder Kex watched all of this with a sense of pride and amazement. He turned to Captain Chen, who stood beside him on the balcony of the new Galactic Cooperation Center. "When your ship crashed here, we thought it was the end," Kex said, his voice filled with emotion. "Instead, it was a new beginning. You didn't just save us, Sarah. You helped us find ourselves again." Chen nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon where human and Xylon buildings stood side by side. "That's what humanity does," she said softly. "We don't conquer. We connect. We grow together." As night fell, the planet came alive with a soft, pulsing glow. Bioluminescent plants lit the streets, while in the sky, ships from a dozen different species twinkled like stars. Word of the Cylon Renaissance had spread, and now races that had once ignored this corner of the galaxy were coming to learn, to trade, and to understand. The Tylons, once considered the weakest species in the galaxy, were now at the forefront of a new era of cooperation and discovery. Their unique abilities, combined with human innovation, were changing the face of the galaxy. As Zara and Chen stood together, watching the glowing city below, they knew that this was more than just a renaissance. It was the dawn of a new galactic age, one where differences were celebrated, not feared. And it had all started with a crashed ship and two species that the galaxy had underestimated. The Cylon Renaissance was just the beginning. The best was yet to come. 5 years had passed since the humans first crashed on the Cylon homeworld. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The unlikely alliance between humans and Xylons had grown into something much bigger, reshaping the very foundations of galactic society. On a clear morning, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the massive space station Unity. The station, a marvel of human and Cylon engineering, hung in space at the crossroads of a dozen major trade routes. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing species from across the galaxy, docked and departed in a constant stream. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a familiar voice said. Chen turned to see Zara floating beside her, the Cylon's bioluminescence pulsing gently in the artificial gravity. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come," Chen replied, smiling at her friend. Below them, on the Cylon homeworld, the changes were even more dramatic. Cities glowed with a mix of Earth and Cylon technology. In the rural areas, new forms of agriculture had turned once barren lands into lush, productive fields. But the real changes were happening on a galactic scale. In the main conference room of Unity Station, representatives from over 100 species gathered for the first meeting of the new galactic cooperative. The room buzzed with a mix of voices, translator devices working overtime to keep up with the diverse languages. Elder Kex, now serving as the Cylon ambassador, called the meeting to order. "Friends, allies, welcome to this historic day," he said, his voice strong despite his age. "Today, we take the first step towards a truly united galaxy." As Kex spoke, Chen couldn't help but remember the struggles they had faced to get here. There had been resistance, of course. Some species, like the Zenthians, had initially opposed the changes, fearing a loss of their own power and influence. But the success of the Human-Cylon alliance had been impossible to ignore. Their combined strengths had solved problems that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. The Quarians, once focused solely on profit, had been amazed by the economic benefits of cooperation. "Our trade volume has tripled since we joined the alliance," their representative announced. "Working together doesn't just feel good, it pays well." Even the Vexari, the energy beings who had once viewed humans as a threat, had come around. The humans' adaptability, combined with Cylon empathy, has helped us communicate in ways we never thought possible, their ambassador pulsed. "We understand each other better now." As the meeting progressed, more and more species shared stories of how the new spirit of cooperation had benefited them. Diseases that had once ravaged entire planets were now curable, thanks to the combination of human medical science and Cylon empathic healing. Faster than light travel, once the privilege of only the most advanced races, was now available to all, thanks to Cylon spatial awareness and human engineering. But it wasn't just about technology and science. The galaxy was changing culturally as well. Species that had once looked down on each other were now learning to appreciate their differences. Cylon empathic art had become a sensation across the stars, while human music and literature were being translated into hundreds of alien languages. "We're not just trading goods and technology," Ambassador Exer of the Zenthians said, his scales shimmering with emotion. "We're exchanging ideas, cultures, ways of seeing the universe. It's humbling." As the day wore on, plans were made for joint scientific missions, cultural exchange programs, and a new system of galactic governance based on mutual respect and cooperation. Chen and Zara listened to it all, still amazed at how much had changed. They remembered the early days, when survival had been their only goal. Now, they were at the center of a galactic renaissance. As the meeting came to a close, a young Cylon approached Chen, her antenna twitching nervously. "Excuse me, Captain," she said. "I'm writing a history of the Human-Cylon alliance for school. Can you tell me, how did you do it? How did you change the whole galaxy?" Chen smiled, looking out at the diverse group of aliens, chatting amicably as they left the conference room. "We didn't do it alone," she said. "We just showed the galaxy that being different isn't a weakness, it's a strength. When we work together, respecting and valuing our differences, there's nothing we can't achieve." As the young Cylon scurried off to write down Chen's words, Zora floated up beside her human friend. "So," the Cylon said, her bioluminescence glowing brightly, "ready for our next adventure?" Chen laughed, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "Always," she replied. "The galaxy's a big place. I think we're just getting started." Together, the human and the Cylon looked out at the stars. The galaxy spread out before them, full of possibilities. It was a new era, one of cooperation, understanding, and hope. And it had all started with two species that the galaxy had once thought were too weak to matter. As Unity Station rotated slowly in space, ships of all kinds setting off for distant stars, one thing was clear: the best was yet to come.